Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today and coming again. And for those of you who are here for the first time, thank you for your interest. I hope you find it useful today. So to kick off this session, let me quickly introduce us. I'm Diana, I'm part of PDFix team, joined by my colleague Josef. And today we'll dive into PDF accessibility and our technology, PDFix Desktop, something that we are always working on to make document accessibility way easier for you. So whether you are a document specialist, part of a business enterprise, or single remediator, our technology is designed with wide range of applications for everyone, very easy to use. So if you've been with us before, you know at PDFix we are all about automation, and we've loaded our technology with as much automation as possible to save you time, eliminate errors, and make everything as easy as few clicks. So over the next 30 minutes, we will demonstrate how you can use PDFix Desktop to out-tag documents using our advanced intelligent layout recognition engine. And basically, based on this layout, you can create your own templates that allow for more precise auto-tagging. This is the ultimate solution for automating high-volume document remediation, perfect for digital documents with a similar layouts. This topic came directly from our customers. Templates are a highly requested feature, but they are also very specific to each use case. So today, Josef will give you a general overview on document structure, object recognition within the PDF, along with what templates are, how you can use them, and how they work. We'll save the deeper details and set up for future sessions so we don't overload you today with too much information. So if you have any questions or comments during the session, feel free to drop them in the comments or in the chat, and we make sure to address them at the end of the session. So now I think we are all set. So let's get started. Josef, it's yours.
Yeah, thank you, Dana, for introduction. I will just add that if anyone is experiencing some sound problems, feel free to drop a note to the chat. We will answer all your questions or comments at the end of the session. Lastly, if there will be too many questions, we will respond by email or we will post everything to our website. So welcome again to our webinar. We already made a couple of webinars on related to PDFix Desktop and remediation automation. Templates was one of the most requested topics, and actually it took a little time. So finally, we had the first session dedicated to templates. Templates with PDFix SDK and PDFix Desktop. It's a quite complicated topic, which covers many different ways of handling the content and modifying the layout recognition system, which is built in our SDK. And today's session will be more like an introduction to the whole topic. And in the following sessions, we will take a closer look at the specific problems, at the specific parts. So today we're going to speak about mostly about we will speak about how to handle some of the basic structure recognition, how to modify it. What is a query? What kind of rules you can write on your own for a document, and how to look at the PDF document in order to achieve the best layout. In terms of configuring the template, our recognition system is based on is coming up from the content. That means that we used to call it from bottom to top, which means that we take all the individual elements from the PDF content, we put them together, and during the process of recognition, we identify first small entities like words, like a graphical units that may be constructed into larger units, and finally we can get to text of lines, paragraphs, lists, tables, or larger vector graphics can be combined into an image. So this process is actually going from inside of the PDF content into the whole structure. We will show you how to deal with this during the demo session. In terms of usability of the templates, we actually, as Diana said, we are focusing a lot on accessibility and automation. This means that once you write your template, this template can be saved and reused for other documents. This is not the only advantage of the template, and we see many, we used to say, happy remediators who can process their huge documents using the template. This means that using the template, they can prepare the document or pre-tag the document into the level when the manual recognition will be narrowed down to just necessary things that could not be handled using template. So knowing how the template works and how to use a specific rules and conditions and the processes, it is very handy also for the process of manual remediation. I mentioned that we go from bottom to top, and during the process of building the template, we will show you how you can write your own conditions and queries. The basic logic of the template is identification of an object. It can be a word, line, rectangle, or image on the page. You can identify it by its properties like position or content or font size. It doesn't matter. So it's up to you to define these conditions. And then this query is evaluated. And if such an object is found in the content, you can assign specific properties, whether this object should be isolated, it should be connected together with other, or you can simply set it as an artifact, or you can define special properties like list label or something like that. So we will show you how to deal with this in the next couple of minutes. So let's look at the first example that we have, and we can take a look at how it's going to work. So for this purpose, we have prepared an example for invoice. And first, I will show you what actually building the template means in PDFix desktop and how you can actually work with these, which panes you will use, and simply all the user interface components that will be available. Here on the left side, take a closer look. There is a layout recognition pane. We will use this recognition pane a lot because these layout recognition panes will display the results of our layout recognition. And instantly, we will see all the changes that we will apply on the template. So here you can see how we recognize the PDF content by default. You can see that here we display the reading order. You can see all the elements that are here. You can also see some larger structures like tables and such. On the second page, we see clearly that there are some issues with the recognition. And actually, if you can take a closer look, the table is recognized incorrectly. And also, we should handle also some objects on the bottom that probably should be artifacted at the end. So let's take a closer look at what we have next. The template pane is here on the top right corner. The template itself is basically behind that is a JSON file. I believe that many of you are familiar with the JSON structure. It is basically very easy to read. And of course, we know a lot of people are writing the template files by hand. So anytime when you will save your JSON file or your template, you can simply modify it by hand by just editing the JSON file. So this structure represents the JSON file, and basically each node can be expanded to a couple of to values and actually some subnodes. Let's talk about the basic structure. So this is the first node, metadata. Basically, it's not that important. It's not something that is necessary for processing. However, this is a good place for storing the information about your template. So you can put a date, you can put there's a purpose of the template, or maybe somehow identify your document set, which version was used with of the SDK was used. So you have some prepared information inside, which will be saved together with the JSON, with the template. Second, there is a settings pane. I will again, we can explain the settings pane in one of the next sessions, but just quick take a look. This page tag, if you ever tried our tagging process, we tag the documents by pages, and it has a reason. Basically, our layout recognition system operates on pages, and each page is stored inside of a single node in the document structure. This name lets you specify the name of the node. You can put your own, like section or any other that suits you. Anyway, at the end, you can always delete this node if necessary and simply put all the content into a single level directly under the document node. This X object, we will speak about X objects and tagging in the next sessions, so we'll not deal with this at the moment. So the last node is a template itself. The template consists of predefined nodes, which is a page map and page map regex, and it also has ability to add some other nodes listed here. You can imagine the list of nodes that are available here as functions that are executed or evaluated during the process of recognition. So some of them are executed at the very beginning when we collect all the objects from the page and put them into some containers, some simply for processing. Even in that stage, you can say, like, if you want, for example, to ignore this image and you don't want to include that in the recognition process, you can simply mark it as an artifact at the very beginning, which will speed up the process, speed up the next process, and you will achieve your desired results. We will speak about these functions in some of the functions we will use today, and we will speak about other functions in the next parts of this template webinar, so that you will understand each of them, each function, and you will find which use cases will be suitable for using which cases. We have a page map. The page map node, it contains a set of predefined threshold values. Don't worry about the number of threshold values. As you know, probably the process of identification of the layout is quite complex, and each process is customizable for defining the threshold values. Like, for instance, word spacing, how to construct words, line spacing. You can also define some basic rules, how to construct the reading order, how to set up the reading order, how to define the table or isolate the elements, some distances, and so on. So this is something that lets you control the process in a way that you can modify some border values that will change the process. Each value or each value that is represented in or displayed in this content has a description down below. So you can go through this description, and based on the name and description, you should be able to find also which value should be posted in the set to this value, and simply how actually based on the description, you can find out how to operate this, which value should be changed and which value should be modified. So the last pane which we will use is this format pane. The format pane is very useful for displaying the properties of the selected object. So for instance, in this case, we have an object image, and here you can see the position and width and height. In case of text, you will see also the font size, fill color, stroke color, also for path elements. So these are the values that will be used in the queries and in the rules specifying the object. So let's take a look at the document and we'll start working. So initial view on the document, you can see that it has a bad reading order. So The expectation for this document is that I would like to have the logo as the first element, then we go to invoice, address. These elements maybe will have to be handled in a slightly different way, not this way, not as a two paragraphs, but in a different way. The table at the first look looks fine, and then we have some footer, we need to solve it. So let's take a look first at the reading order. The reading order can be set up for the document or for the page only. That means that you can change the way how we identify the reading order. And for this purpose, we have this RD sort. This is reading order sorting parameter, which allows us to use 3 different methods for identification of the reading order. First, the default value 0 is built-in reading order detection, which is using some logic inside, which may not be perfect for all documents. And as you can see, in this case, it didn't work well, because in this document, we would probably prefer either XY reading order, or simply want to go from the top left corner into the bottom right corner. So we can modify the value here just by typing the number 2. So this is the preferred way. And as you can see, we have changed the reading order, which now looks good. Just to show you how it can be done in a different way, some documents or some creators, creation tools, generate the content in a correct way. And this is a good example how you can see that reading order is correct or not based on the original content. Then the value number 1 says that we will keep the original content position, which means that the way how the PDF was generated, the first object comes first based on the content. As you can see, that reading order in this document is absolutely not correct, but that's how the PDF is constructed. So that's why we provide other ways of searching for the correct reading order. We have another option here, the sorting this direction, and this preference can set the preferred way of building the reading order in the multi-column document. Let's go back to the original one, which is this one, and we can change the values in the sort direction to prefer either columns or prefer rows. So in this case, let's try number 1. In this case, it didn't change because we preferred columns. So we go this way and this then go to the right side. If we change it to number 2, we will achieve approximately the same like a Z order. And we process first the columns and then go down to the whole page. You need to try on your own which reading order setup works the best for you. But this is the place where you can modify the reading order. So let's go with the first option, XY, and now we have it all set up. The second thing second problem I see is this content here, which was originally identified as 2 paragraphs, and you may choose whether you want to tag it as a table. I would probably prefer to tag this as an individual p tag paragraph just for this showcase. So we can take a look at another option which we have when constructing paragraphs. So we can see that this paragraph was constructed because the distance between the line spacing is larger than, for instance, on the left side, but not large enough to split the text of lines into pieces. So let's go to another property, which is text lines distance maximum, text line distance, and the text line distance ratio. The text line distance max simply it's a value which tells that where you can specify a certain value measured in points in PDF units, and it will tell the processor to split text of lines whenever we will find larger space than the value stated here. In order to identify the value, we can use the format pane. And basically, we just will select the first text of line, and we'll check the bottom coordinates, which is 593. and the second text of line is about 619, which makes a difference approximately 24, 25 points. So we can specify the maximum distance, let's say 23 points. In this case, let's take a look. We'll see that we have changed our recognition system because the lines are now split. This content has been identified as a table. That's not the final structure I want to use, but if it's okay for me, I can leave it this way because now it will be recognized as a table. But if you don't want to have a table constructed from objects that do not have lines of table, you can use the other property, which is table detect sect, which represents detection of section tables, basically tables without lines, and it can be turned off and or on. In this document, I would like to turn it off because this is, from my point of view, not a table, and actually it should be tagged as a paragraph rather than a table. So we can turn it off, and when we turn it off, you can see that the number of text has been increased, and we get the structure that I want. Of course, you can take a look at this paragraph now, which is split into two pieces, and basically it breaks the reading order. So now we can proceed to the next part. Just a note to these three values. Basically, I'm showing you the most used values, most used processes that we, based on the feedback or customers, which actually threshold values are mostly used for modification of the template. So let's take a look at what will be next. The next step would be, I would like to have this content tagged as a single P tag. And this is a good example. Whenever you have a fixed position, content on the fixed position, you can use this method to tag this according to your desired preference. So what we will use is our first function, which is element create. Element create function is a function that is executing at the beginning of the process, and at the beginning we will define the table, or in this case the paragraph, will be constructed in the certain position identified by the bounding box, and whatever gets into this bounding box will be identified as a paragraph. So we will try to construct the object or element which you will choose. So in this case, here we have a new element. We can create multiple elements by adding more elements, like this one. And in order to create the element, we don't have to search for the bounding boxes, but we can take the bounding box which we draw using the default tool. We can copy the information. When we copy the information, we copy all values that are present in the format pane. So we can reuse this value depending on where we want to use it. So in this case, we can just paste the information, and automatically it will connect fill the values of the bounding box according to what's in the clipboard. And lastly, I want to make it as a PDE text. So I will just change it to PDE text, and let's take a look at the results. You can see that my structure is getting better, and we have a single P tag here. We can take a look at on the second page, and we see that this element has been constructed also on the second page. This is something what we don't want. So we need to put some additional conditions into the process to identify this text only on the page number 1. The way we will do it is we will use the query and this AND operator. Basically, this AND operator is, you can use this AND operator as a standard, like in SQL language or other languages that use logical operators. So we have a choice to use AND or not. In this case, actually, the simple case is use AND. So what we will use, we want to limit this element, limit creation of this element only on the page number 1. We'll put here the page number 1, and we can see element is on the first page. On the second page, the result is fine. So now we can follow up to the next step. Let's take a look at the content on the bottom of this page. of the first page. This content can be identified as a footer, and the footer usually are tagged as or are not tagged, and actually we must put that into an artifact. We also see the same footer on the last page. So what we can do, in order to identify the footer, we can simply draw a rectangle. That will be the simplest method available. We can simply draw a rectangle and say, use the shortcut to generate a footer, and we can say add to template as a footer. It drops to the page. Okay, this dialog pops up, and here we can set up the properties which will be used to identify the footer. And as you can see, I have drawn a rectangle, and logically, it makes sense to identify anything as a footer, anything that is below this top coordinate of the bounding box. So I can choose just top coordinate and click OK. A new node has been created. We could create it also manually, so that the element update will contain all the properties. And as you can see, it added a condition for top coordinate, and actually the value is less than or equal to the value which is identified here. And you can see on the left side, on the layout recognition pane, we have a footer identified, and this footer will become artifact labeled as a footer. So in the tagging process, we will tag the document at the end. So many times we got the request not to tag, many times we got the request to tag the footer on the last page, which means that on the first page in my document, it will become an artifact, but that won't be the case on the next page. So in order to do that, I can add additional condition, again, for the page number, and I will say that if the page number is lower than the number of pages, in that case, my footer will be regularly tagged as, and the footer on the first page will become an artifact. So I can say that the first page is actually correct from my point of view, and we can take a look at the second page. On the second page, we have actually two remaining things that we need to get rid of, is basically this repeated content on the top. We have a mechanism for identification of repeated content on pages, and basically what can be done, you have two options how to solve this problem. We can either mark this content as a header. Again, we will choose the condition, but in this case, it's going to be a bottom coordinate of our rectangle, selected rectangle, and we can click OK. So as you can see, we have the header, and it will be again marked as a footer. Again, we don't want to tag as a header on the first page, so we can put the additional condition to set the page number is greater than 1. So we have our first page is correctly tagged like it was before, and the second page has this content in the artifact. That will be the first option. The second option, I will just delete this node. Always disable the node so that it will be kept in the JSON in your template. If you want to test something, it is very useful to disable this node so that you will see the differences between applying and non-applying the property. So let's take a look at the other example. We have the object, which is this image on the second page and this invoice text on the second page. The function which we use is single instant detect. This is the function which automatically identifies objects that exist on multiple pages, and basically you have a choice to tag only the first of them. So I added the single instant detection, and you can see that I've lost a lot of content which was tagged on the second page, basically all of the object. What I need to do is I need to add conditions, and the easiest conditions is I can simply mark area where these objects are present, and I can copy this area, and in my condition there will be a coordinate, which is the bottom coordinate of the object is greater or equal than the bottom coordinate of this bounding box. So you can always take into account that the values are related to objects you want to identify. So that's why I put the bottom coordinate, because I need to compare this bottom coordinate of an object which will fall into this condition. And now, as you can see, we have the content identified correctly. This content is duplicated on all pages. It won't be tagged. It will become an artifact. Maybe the last thing I want to fix is this content, which is on this page identified as a single paragraph. But from the content, I see that it could be the similar case like in this case on the top. What I can do, I can get back to my page map node where I set the text line detection, and I put here the fixed number, which is always compared as in absolute values. What I can do, I can use the ratio, and this ratio helps me to define a more dynamic condition based on the font size. Actually, this value, the final value of the threshold will be the same, will have the same use as this one, but I will not use fixed value, but value will be calculated from the font size. And again, I can take a look at the format pane, and I can pre-calculate approximately what value it should be. So we have a font size 12, and the difference was approximately 23. So the value to split between two lines could be somewhere around 1.7, 1.8. So let's put the values here, 0 here, and this value will be 1.0. So 1.0 multiplied by the font size will give us the results. So we can take a look. This page looks okay, and on this page we have the similar results. So now our template is perfectly prepared, and we can reuse it, and we can save it, and we can auto-tag the document. So let's do it. Let's auto-tag the document, run. Okay, let's take a look here. So we have our non-struct elements, and we can take a look at the figure tag. Okay, this is fine. We have a p tag, our p tag, and the content is fine. The content on the bottom became an artifact. And on the second page, we have a similar, and basically it follows our structure, which we identified. We can take a look at the last two things that are very commonly used in building the template, which the first one is finding the identification of headings. In my case, I would like this content to become heading 1, and identification of the alternate text. As you can see in our tag PDF, we have some alternate text, and actually the alternate text was taken from this content, which is not correct in this case. The way how our alternate text identification works is that we take the closest text to the image, or we simply try to find the most relevant content nearby the image, or sometimes inside of the image, which will become then the alternate text. In this case, this is not correct, and I want to have a different one. And in order to do this, we can modify the structure according to our design, and we can use the tag image. The tag image function is probably one of the easiest functions you can use for modification of an image tag once it's created. Basically, we don't have to put any conditions here, any additional conditions for and statement, because we have only one figure in this document. But actually, if you want to specify that, you can always put here the conditions, like based on the position, based on the page number and such. So it's up to you to define the conditions for identification of an image. And we can put a new condition when clicking on this if statement, and we can specify our alternate text. This will be a company logo. So this way we can predefine the value of our figure, and we can auto-tag the document again. So we can check the document, and we have our alternate text here. The last thing I want to use is I want to specify the heading 1 using the template. So we go back to our original document, and we can say to mark add the template as heading 1. Using this shortcut, we will add a new node into our template. And in this case, we want to identify, because it's text, we have other possibilities available as well, related to font name and font size. So we can use the position arguments, or width or height, but in our case, we can use the font name and font size because it's enough to identify the text on the page. When we do this, we have the condition, and as you can see, the condition is a little bit larger than before. We have a font name, which is identified by the regular expression, and we have a font size. In this case, we automatically add greater or equal or less than or equal. The reason for that is that the size of the font is usually a calculated value. And in many cases, it's not like a nice integer value. In many cases, it's a float number with a decimal number. So that's why we give you the opportunity to set the lower and upper bounds for definition of the font size. And the last thing is heading 1. We can add additional layer flags here, so which we will speak about these additional flags later when we'll talk about the templates for building templates for paragraphs. But for now, we will be fine with heading definition. You can, of course, build other properties for defining H2, H3 headings. Similarly, simply this structure will be used. We can now auto tag our document, and let's take a look at the resulting structure. So lastly, we have our figure tag, which has a company logos and alternate text. We have a heading 1, and the rest of the content is basically tagged according to our predefined template. So we're done with this document. And now the best thing to do is reuse it. So we can now save the template. Saving the template will actually create, will save just the template into a JSON file. So we can save it to your location wherever you want to have it. And, oops, sorry, I have chosen a bad storage base. So let's go here, PDFs, webinar, templates, and let's use my invoice template. Invoice template, and it's going to be 2 because I have tested it before and I have another template already stored. So what I can I don't have to apply the document and changes on my document. I can do it if you want, but for the purpose of demonstration, I will just keep it unsaved. And now what I can do is I can select multiple documents. This is another document which has the same layout. Actually, you can see that it's a single page document, but contains the similar structures like the original one. And the template will be used exactly the same way like on the first page. So there will be some differences, for instance, regarding the tagging of the footer, which should be actually tagged because it's the only page. We will see how it's going to go. So let's go here and we will select both documents, and we can use a shortcut or the right-click menu to auto-tag the document. When auto-tagging, we have our documents selected here. So actually, you can have there hundreds of files, and we can select here the template. So let's go template number 1. And I will put them into a separate folder. I like to separate the output 1. And now let's run it. In the activity pane, we will see the results. So these are my process documents. Both of them are in the folder, which is output 1. And let's take a look. So the first document is already tagged, and actually it contains the structure which has been created the same way like we defined it. And let's take a look at another one. It also has a structure. Basically, it's following exactly the same rules. So this way, we achieved the desired results in both documents using a single template. Now, if our company will generate this kind of invoices on a daily basis, we can simply execute the same process with this template, and we will know what actually the structure, how it's going to look like. So this is all I wanted to present for today. There will be, if I think now it's a good time for your questions. Yeah, the first question: what kind of the documents is worth to create a template? Yeah, good question, and it's many times we struggle with this question, because building a template sometimes is a process for, let's say, 5 minutes. Sometimes it may take hours, and we have cases when we need to provide like a full continuous support for building the templates for complicated documents. So it's always a question how much effort it is worth to invest into building a template comparing to remediation process, manual remediation process after processing, after tagging. So yeah, usually our answer is, let's just assume how much time you will spend on remediating some parts of the documents. When you see repeated problems and you want to try to eliminate these problems very quickly, it's definitely worth it to write a template, at least for some portion of the document. So if your document has more than 500 pages, it really makes sense to write a template, at least for some specific, I don't know, specific parts of the document, so that you will have the document prepared, and then the rest of the remediation process will be much easier. And we saw many cases when for the documents with the hundreds of files, the remediation professionals were able to save 80% of time on remediation, just because they had used the template, even the minimal template, nothing complex. Second questions: how good are results when using templates? Actually, again, it depends on the document. Each template is very specific to the content of the document, and the content, the structure of the document and the content itself depends on how the creation tool has generated the PDF. We saw many crazy constructions in the PDF. For instance, I don't know, PowerPoint is very specific. He puts everywhere rectangles. You don't see them actually, but these rectangles are in the content, usually white, invisible rectangles, and we need to handle somehow. So it always depends on what kind of document you're dealing with. It is very useful to look at the content page, where you can see what objects are hidden in the PDF, and you don't see them, but they exist, and we need to handle them somehow. The template can help you to identify this object and simply do something with them, whether artifacting them or simply use them for a specific purpose. Yeah, good questions. Let's take a look at the heading rows in the template, in the text structure. So let's take a look at the template results. So as you can see, that tagging of tables has ability to use some automated methods to generate the table correctly. We have built-in methods for identification of table headers, which may work correctly in some content. In my document, in my template, we can identify headings because they use different font style, and that's typically the way how to identify these headings. So in this case, for us, it was quite easy to identify them. In other documents, in other tables, this is not that easy, and we will have another session dedicated to tables, because the template also can modify the way how the headings will be detected based on the properties of the text. So I hope this answered the question. Another question came: I am new to this tool, have a basic knowledge on PDFix tagging. What's the difference between Desktop Lite and Desktop Pro? I hope the document has Reptit 1, you can use a template model. The template, the difference between Lite and Pro version is actually that Lite version is not built for editing. Basically, you can use it for testing, for building the template. This is no problem. All the template features and the functionality will operate correctly. So you can build the templates even in the Lite version, and then, for instance, use it with the PDFix SDK. So, the professional version or enterprise version is something that allows you to also apply directly the templates on the PDF documents. With the Pro version, you can use it one document by one. So, and the enterprise version allows you to use also the batch processing. That's the process I used for auto tagging multiple files in a single run, basically. So I hope this answered a question again. So I don't see other questions from my colleagues coming to me. So I think it would be good time to take a rest and consume all the information that we put on you. And I encourage you, everyone, to start trying the templates. Don't hesitate to click on any of these nodes and try using the functions that are listed here. And if you have any questions, just send us an email and simply get back to us. We'll be here to help. And of course, we want to prepare our next part of the webinars primarily based on your requirements and your requests. We have already something in place, but we'll be happy if actually also this content on the webinars will address some of the problems that you might have. Okay. Diana, it's your turn. Mute. You are mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I would just say that if anything else comes to your mind, feel free to reach out to us. We will definitely get back to your question. Also, make sure to check your inbox, email inbox. You will receive a webinar recording after this session. But this webinar will be also available on our website and on our YouTube channel. So yeah, as Josef said, feel free to try everything we covered today. There is a free download of PDFix desktop on our website. And I guess that's a wrap for today. So thank you so much for being here. We really enjoyed having you. And we catch you at the next webinar. Bye.
Thank you, Emily. Bye-bye.